Okay, in this lesson we are going to continue to look at solving problems that involve rates. If you're in my class, you have your study guide, and you may want to pause this video at some point in time if you feel like you might be challenged by a particular problem, might want to try it on your own. That may be a good thing to do. We are going to look at two particular problems in this lesson, and here's the first one. It says Paula is asked to order snacks for an office meeting of 180 people. She decides to order dessert squares, which come in boxes of 24. She estimates that she will need 2.5 squares per person. How many boxes should she buy? So this is a type of problem that some people always come up against. We have this many people coming to a particular meeting or to a particular party. How much food should we get? And we've all been at parties where there's either not enough food or way too much. So it's good to estimate and find out how much she'll need. So she knows she needs 2.5 squares per person, and there's 180 people. So probably the easiest way to initially do this problem is just to find out how many squares she needs. So she needs 2.5 per person. There's other ways of doing this, and I'm going to multiply that by 180 people. So she needs 180 times 2.5 per person, 450 squares. But what this question says is that it comes in boxes of 24. So 450 squares equals how many boxes? And if there's 24 per box, we're going to be dividing by 24. So 450 squares, again, there's other ways of doing this, divided by 24 per box is going to give us how many boxes that is. So 450 divided by 24 is 18.75. And I would round that to 19 boxes. So that's that particular type of problem. I did not even use any fractions here whatsoever, just use some proportional reasoning. Example number 2 is, in my opinion, a far more difficult, challenging problem. And we'll see here what it's about. Amelia walks briskly at 6 kilometers per hour. So she's walking at 6 kilometers per hour. When she walks at this rate for 2 hours, she burns 454 calories. So she can burn 454 calories in 2 hours. Bruce walks much slower at 4 kilometers per hour, and he burns 62 calories in 30 minutes, which is equivalent to half of an hour. The question is this: if Amelia walks for 3 hours, how much longer would Bruce have to walk in order to burn the same amount of calories? So, first thing is just setting up these rates. Amelia is 454 calories in 2 hours, and Bruce is 62 calories every 30 minutes. We're not comparing the rates, however. What we're trying to do is get them to burn the same amount of calories. So first of all, we want to know how many calories. So goal for Amelia is how many calories is she burning in 3 hours, because it states that if she walks for 3 hours, how much longer will Bruce have to walk in order to burn the same amount of calories? Well, we need to know, I'll highlight it in yellow here, what is the same amount of calories, or how many calories are there? In other words, Amelia burns how many calories in 3 hours? I'm going to use a unit rate. If we know, in purple, that she burns 454 calories in 2 hours, if I divide that by 2, it will give me the unit rate of how many calories, which is 227 calories every 1 hour. Why that's useful is because then if I want to know how many calories that she burns in 3 hours, I could just times her hourly rate by 3, and that will give me 227 times 3, which is 681. So she burns 681 calories in 3 hours. So that tells us that Bruce is going to have to burn 681 calories. So we would like to know, and there's many ways of doing this, but 681 calories can be burned in how many minutes? Because we know that the numerical equivalents have to be the calories. So Bruce can burn 681 calories in how many minutes? If you'd like to pause this and try it on your own, go right ahead. Okay, there's a few ways of doing this. I'll show you a unit rate method. The unit rate method would say let's figure out how long it takes them to burn 1 calorie, and then we could times it by 681. So if I I know it's 30 minutes for 62 calories, if I divide it by 62, that will give me how many minutes? So 30 divided by 62. It takes 0.48387 minutes to burn 1 calorie. So if I want to know how long it takes him to burn 681 calories, I could just times that amount of minutes by 681. Okay, and that would give me, so times that by 681, that gives me 329. I'll round it to 330 minutes. So this would be 330 minutes. Now, the question says how much longer. I'll underline that in red. So how much longer? It states that he has already walked 62 calories in 30 minutes. So if we subtract 30 minutes from that, he would have to walk 300 more minutes, which is equivalent to 5 hours. That's one method. Another method of solving this particular problem, so let me just start at the beginning of Bruce's problem. So if you don't understand this particular problem or method, I'll show you another method, but it kind of starts with the same premise. The premise would be that we know that Bruce burns 62 calories in 30 minutes, so how long does it take him to burn 681 calories? So another method of doing this is finding out how many times 62 goes into 681, because that will give me the multiplier. And I'm going to show you in red here. If I do 681 divided by 62, that will give me 10.98387. 10.98387. So that's about 11 times pretty much. So all I would have to do, if I know that 62 goes into 681 11 times, then it's going to take 11 times longer. So I could times this by 11, or 10.98387, and that would give me roughly 681 calories. per, and that's 330 minutes. So again, the question states, how much longer will Bruce have to walk? He's already walked 30 minutes. So if we subtract 30 from the total amount of time, that will tell us that he has to walk, again, same answer, 300 more minutes, which if we divide that by 60 minutes per hour, that's also 5 hours more.